Hey everyone, welcome back to week 4 of our series on goals. We've been talking about how we have goals in our life and God can help us accomplish those goals. And that through Him we can do more than sometimes we could even imagine. This week we're talking about my favorite part, celebration. You see, when we set goals and we achieve them, then it's time to celebrate. And this is a really important thing. Now, you might remember me talking last week about wanting to eat healthier this year being one of my goals, and the temptation of chocolate cake making that really, really difficult. Why do I still have the chocolate cake? And why is it sliced? Because it's time to celebrate. Now, you might think that celebrating with chocolate cake kind of defeats the purpose of my goals. But the program that I'm part of actually says that when you meet one of your goals, you should celebrate and eat something that you normally say no to. Number 1, to keep that food from becoming the thing that you're obsessed about all of the time. And number 2, because celebrating good things reinforces your ability to continue on when things get difficult. And this is good advice when you're watching your weight, but it's also really good advice in the Bible too. Let's look at our story of Nehemiah. If you remember back in previous weeks, we've been talking about Nehemiah, a book in the Old Testament. And Nehemiah was a person who his family had been taken captive, moved to another country, but he had this heart to see Jerusalem rebuilt. It had been destroyed and the walls were broken all around it. It could be invaded at any time and no one could stop it. And he wanted to rebuild the walls of the city. When he started rebuilding the walls, people around him made fun of him. They said it was pointless. Sometimes they even threatened violence against him. And so he had to put a plan in place when people were coming against him to make sure that he accomplished his goals. And in the end, the walls of Jerusalem were rebuilt. He met the goal that no one thought he could do. And once he did it, it was time to celebrate. Now, in Nehemiah chapter 8, an interesting thing happens. They gather all of the people who had been helping build the wall together. And they said, we're going to worship God and give thanks for His help in these walls being rebuilt. When they did that, they all came together and they started singing. And then they had their leaders start reading from the scriptures. As they did that, the people realized all of the ways that they and their people before them had not been following the rules that God had set out for them. And they became really sad because they were just looking at the things that still needed to change that hadn't happened yet. And in the midst of this, Nehemiah comes to them and says, stop, wait. So in chapter 8, verses 10 to 12, he said, and Nehemiah continued, go and celebrate with a feast of rich foods and sweet drinks, and share gifts of food with the people who have nothing prepared. This is a sacred day before our Lord. Don't be dejected and sad, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. And the Levites too quieted the people, telling them, hush, don't weep, for this is a sacred day. So the people went away to eat and drink at a festive meal, and to share gifts of food, and to celebrate with great joy because they heard God's words and understood them. Now, that doesn't mean that there wasn't still more work to do and that the things that they were aware of weren't wrong. But Nehemiah was saying here, hey, we need to take time to celebrate before we move on to the next thing. And there was a next thing. After the wall was rebuilt, they wanted to rebuild the temple. But before they could start that, they needed to take time and celebrate together. And there you have it from the Bible. God says the best way to celebrate is to eat food together. And so they took food and they shared it with each other. Just like I'm gonna have some of this cake to celebrate the success that I've seen on my program right now. So good. I'm gonna enjoy more of this later, but I'm not gonna eat this cake alone because that would obviously be really unhealthy. But the team of people who help make these videos, the people you never see because they're behind the lines, I'm going to share this cake with them and they're going to enjoy it too. And that is going to be our way of celebrating all the work we've been able to do this year. Now, in your life, sometimes we only get focused on the big thing and we miss out the little things to celebrate. So maybe you're looking towards getting a certain mark in a class you're in, and you forget to celebrate the quizzes that you take along the way. Maybe you're working towards getting into a certain university and you don't get into it, but you miss out on all of the work that you put into it and don't celebrate that you did get in somewhere else. Maybe you just need to celebrate the fact that you're able to survive through this really difficult year. And your goal is, I just need to emerge healthy through this year. That's a thing worth celebrating. I made it through 2020. Let's celebrate that. The important thing is, if we don't have places of joy and celebration as we go through along the way, then we just don't stay at anything. So we need to celebrate, and there's a couple different things we need to celebrate. Number one, this passage talks about how we need to celebrate God. We pray and we ask God to help us in things. When those things come to pass, when we're able to achieve things, then we need to celebrate and say thank you to God. That's so much about what church is on Sunday. We gather together every week. It's not just about learning. It's not just about hearing a message. The reason that in church every week we sing is it's our way of celebrating God and saying thank you for all the things that He's done for us. Number two, one of the ways that we can celebrate is by taking care of other people. In the passage, you notice that they had food for themselves, but they also took food for people who didn't have any. So when God has blessed us with good things, we give back to other people as a way of celebrating. And that's something we've been huge about at NBUC. So maybe that's collecting food and taking it in for the food cupboard here at the church. We accept donations every Wednesday and give them out to people in the community. And we love seeing youth collecting food, or even saving up some money and choosing to go grocery shopping so they can take food to help other people. Maybe it's being part of programs. We always need people, youth that will be online and will, help be part of the service and pray, or do, sometimes we just need people to greet people online, just like we did during the Christmas program. And when people say, yeah, I want to get involved, I want to spend my time helping out with that, that's a way of celebrating the good things that God has done in your life. So when we give back, we celebrate. Gathering with people and telling them how we care about them is another way we celebrate. Now, this is a key thing. Oftentimes people have supported us as we were trying to achieve our goals. Maybe it's your parents making sacrifices so you'll have the things you need. Maybe it's your friends who encouraged you and cheered you on, or, helped share their work so you could understand things that were really tough in school. When you achieve a goal, taking time to say thank you to those people is really important. Sometimes we get so focused on the work that we forget to say thank you. So setting up specific times to remind other people and say thank you, you were part of the success, is really neat. At Christmas every year, I try and send out Christmas cards to people to tell them how I really feel. I felt that way all year long, but if I never remember to tell them, they often don't know how I feel. So making it into something we choose to do and set a time for, celebrations become a regular part of who we are and what we do. So in your small group, talk about how you can celebrate together. What are the things you're celebrating for? What are the good things? Remember to take time to celebrate those and talk about how you're going to do that. I want to take this time to say thank you to a bunch of people who have helped me make a goal of being able to turn things around in this youth group. This past year was a really hard year. And there was a point during the summer where I was like, is youth group still even going to happen in any form? I'm really thankful for Pastor Jamie, who encouraged me and said, we can create something new. And even if the pandemic is going on, youth group can continue. And he helped me come up with the idea of affinity groups. I'm so thankful for the tech team here at the church. People like Colin and Leah and Rebecca, who does all of the editing of these videos. I'm not good with technology. I couldn't do any of this stuff without them. That's why I'm sharing my cake with them this week. There's also people who give every week that make sure these videos happen. You might not think about it, but I estimate that each of these videos probably take maybe $200 in salaries of paying the people who make the things that we need, all of the technology, the cameras, the lights. There's a lot of things that go into it that you never see. That money comes because other people give to the church and say, we believe this is important. So you have youth group because other people have given money to the church. And I am so thankful for each of the people who do that. So I want to celebrate them and all of the things that has made this possible. So I'm going to enjoy my cake with the crew that helps make this all work. In the meantime, you can discuss in your small groups these questions. Number one, what are you celebrating right now in your life? Remember, it can be a big thing or it can be a small thing. Number two, what is your favorite way to celebrate? Is it food? Is it dancing? Is it music, video games? Whatever it is, how do you celebrate? And number three, who do you need to celebrate in your life right now? And what are you going to do to celebrate them? That's all for this week. We'll see you next week as we launch into our new series, Canceled.